put together?
Yeah. Well, okay, so as far as, this debate about nature and nurture, totally dead question nowadays because it's always both. So baby drops into the world knowing a lot of things already, like how to mimic a facial expression. You can stick out your tongue at a baby and the baby will do the same, stuff like that. So, which is actually a very complex visual motor task to do. So there's some amount of pre-programming, but the interesting part is all the stuff that we absorb from there. And so the trick that Mother Nature discovered is to drop us into the world with a half-baked brain, and then we, absorb the world around us, such that, an alligator born today is just the same as an alligator born 100,000 years ago, but we drop into the world by the time we're, 5, 6 years old, we've absorbed essentially everything humans have done before us, our language, our culture, our family tradition, our nation's traditions, and so on. And we get to springboard off the top of that. And that just made us such a runaway species. We've taken over every corner of the planet as a result of not having to learn, not having to play the role of a human over and over again, but constantly ratcheting up in what we're doing.
So this process of understanding, it seems to be built at some point, right at the base level. It starts presumably because there are real things out there in the world. So say there's a puppy in the house. Somehow the baby learns that the same thing that sends, at the same time that you get certain visual sensations, you might hear yap yap yap, and you might have the sort of the lick of a puppy tongue on your face or something like that. And so the brain says these must be associated, and then from that a further understanding comes up. Is that about what happens?
That's exactly right. And the interesting part is that fundamentally the brain is multisensory, which means it's trying to make links across the senses. You just got these little windows on the world, right? I'm just picking up a little slice of electromagnetic radiation here, some air compression waves here, and others. And so what my brain's trying to do is put together, there's an object that is a collection of these things all together. Now the interesting part is when you're born, you don't know how to use your eyes, your ears, anything like that, and so it is a learned thing, but somehow when you learn it enough, it just becomes a qualia. You have a direct subjective experience of it. So
qualia is the subjective feeling of something.
Exactly. So when you see the puppy, you don't think, hey, there's a bunch of photons that happen to be in the shape that I've seen before, and there's some medium frequencies in my eardrum, that's probably a bark, and so on. You just feel like, oh, there's the puppy making noise, and so on. The weird part is how do qualia come about? How is it that information, which we can build a computer to recognize a puppy, but presumably it doesn't experience the puppiness and the love about the puppy and so on.
Yeah, well, you're talking here about consciousness, so that we might come back to that. That's a very, very hard one. But to go back